Hey, Coach. Ira Schofel with WarChant.com. Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Coach, you obviously coach with a lot of different head coaches. How much does that change your job? And like different coaching, head coaches and offensive coordinators, and I guess is that the familiarity with Coach Norvell?
Well, the familiarity with Coach Norvell and Coach Malzahn, goes back, golly, scary thought, but it's almost 20 years now. To when we were at Tulsa together, and Gus and I were co-offensive coordinators then, and Mike started out, as a graduate assistant, and then quickly moved up the ranks to be our wide receiver coach, and so we've known each other for a long time. Obviously, I've worked with Gus at several stops. This is just second time working with Mike, but just super excited to get back with those guys, and we're all cut out of the same cloth, if you will. We believe in the same things philosophically, from an offensive perspective, as well as philosophically when it comes to relationships with people. Because this is even though there's there's a business aspect to what we do, this is still about the people you do it with, and you never want to lose sight of that. And I know that that's ultra important to Coach Norvell, and it's ultra important to me that we have great relationships, as well as, like I said, just philosophically, the familiarity is awesome.
Brendan, here in the front row.
Coach Brendan Snow with North 24/7.
Yep.
Can you walk us through your early impressions of Coach Norvell when you first met him when he was a young up-and-coming coach, and what's been like the kind of, I guess, from afar, see his journey to this point?
Yeah. Mike's he's a bulldog when it comes to, he attacks everything face on, which is awesome. What I mean by that is, when he was a GA for us, his energy, his enthusiasm, his passion for his role that we had him in was clear. He brought a lot of juice, brought a lot of energy to everything, and that's why he moved up the ranks even within our organization at Tulsa so quickly. I go back to when Mike was a GA, and he was one of our best recruiters, but he couldn't go on the road. He wasn't allowed to go on the road, but he signed some of our top players. I think of Damaris Johnson from out of Destrehan, Louisiana, and Mike was a primary recruiter for him, even though he was a grad assistant. And you kind of knew early on, that he was going to be a force in the industry. And then to watch from afar, I've always been, when you work with somebody and you have those personal relationships, it's you stay in touch with them. It's not like Coach Norvell and I haven't, spoken in the last 20 years. We talk, we'd see each other on the road recruiting, or we'd see each other at the, national convention, or, you'd have some big life event, like, you got kids, or, your kids are graduating from college or high school or whatever, or it's a birthday, you're shooting them a text, or, that sort of stuff. We've always been, our relationship has always stayed steady throughout the years, but now to get it, to be able to watch his progression has been awesome. I'm very, very proud of him and all the things he's been able to accomplish. And now I'm excited to work with him again and help us go to even greater heights.
Chris?
How you doing, Coach Aaron? Chris Nee with Knowles 24/7. On offensive linemen, obviously the world's changed with the transfer portal, so it's kind of a two-part question. What do you look for quality-wise in high school prospects, and how much has the portal changed the ability to get guys who are physically more mature?
Okay, well, those are two. I'm not going to be up here for a while lecturing on those thoughts, but no, in high school linemen, okay, there's certain attributes that you want to be able to see on film. First off, right, it starts with flexibility, the ability to bend. That's sometimes it gets overlooked. With guys, because guys are big and strong and physical and all that stuff, but if you can't bend, you can't play. So we always look at that. We look at guys who enjoy the physicality of the game. You can tell they like the contact. They don't shy away from the contact. Guys who can move their feet, okay, As a coach, my job is to make sure they're moving their feet in the right direction, okay? But guys that can play quick on their feet, they're not heavy-footed. You like to have guys that are heavy-handed, okay? That when they strike people, they can punch and impact a person, in a I guess a positive manner for the offense, a negative manner for the individual taking a strike, but they can impact a person, so they play heavy-handed. Ultimately what we're looking for is guys who can make an impact at the line of scrimmage, okay, that can move people, that can dent the defense, but guys who are also athletic enough to play in space, because there's so much spatial blocking that takes place, whether it's in pass protection or whether it's in some of our screens, reverses, our zone schemes where we have to climb up and block second and third level defenders. So they have to be able to play in space as well. And I know that's quite there's a laundry list of things that you look for, but if you narrowed it down to those two things, can they impact the line of scrimmage, move people, dent the defense, and can they play in space? Those would be the two overriding factors. And then they gotta love football. They have to love football, and that takes, you gotta get to know somebody. The challenge on your second part of your question about the transfer portal is sometimes it feels like the transfer portal is speed dating. You know what I mean? And you don't have the opportunity or luxury, I guess, maybe of getting to know somebody that you do in high school recruiting, where you start, you identify somebody when they're a freshman or a sophomore in high school, and you build a relationship with them over years, right? And then when in the portal era, that years is turned into, minutes, hours that you get to spend with them. So, but also, in the portal era, there's times where you may have relationships with guys that, choose to go somewhere else, or you wind up somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like my situation here, I'm at a new school, but I have relationships with guys that are long-standing. And if a guy like that goes in the portal that you feel like you have a great relationship with, that's a plus. But there's also that, the aspect of trying to evaluate guys and making sure that they're right fits, not only from a football perspective, but just from a program perspective and a unit perspective when it comes to the offensive line, that they're right fits. That is a challenge in the time constraints that you have with the portal right now.
Aslan?
Aslan Hunter-Vandy, theportcheck.com, all three coach. I guess to pick up that conversation there, can you look at tape and figure out a guy could maybe be better than a guy that you actually had your hands on with and coached for the last few years when it comes to evaluating the transfer prospect?
I think that there is, that's a great question, by the way, okay, because, when you look at guys that are coming out in the portal, okay, the common theme that you hear is that when a guy goes into transfer portal, they're looking for basically two things, right, which is opportunity and development, okay? And, certainly the opportunity piece is a lot easier to evaluate because, hey, if you've got a need, right, and you can go out and you can fill your need with a guy that you're watching, okay, well, this guy's, a pretty good player on film, and you feel good about, you do the research on him, you find out who he is as a person as best you can, you're trying to dot your I's and cross your T's on all that stuff. But if there's opportunity is just filling needs, okay? So if we have needs, we gotta go fill those needs, all right? Now the development piece, that's where you get into the details of everything. And, I have a lot of friends in this profession, okay? We all do. But O-line coaches, we have, it's almost like a brotherhood, okay? And so when you see a guy in the portal and you know who's coached him and you know how he's been coached and you know what he's been coached, when a guy talks about development, okay, I want to get developed. Well, I'm like, well, dude, your O-line coach is one of my best friends. I'm not going to sit there and say you haven't been coached because I know you've been coached. But now here's what maybe that guy needs is maybe he needs a fresh approach. You know what I mean? Or maybe there's a when you coach a guy, okay, you look at him, you know every wart that guy has. You know everything, every little thing that's kind of wrong with him, okay? All right. When you start evaluating like the national scope of things, and you're looking at all these players, and then you look at maybe some guys that you know a little bit better than others, guys that you've coached in the past, and you start going, man, my guy that I know, he's not as bad as I thought he was. You know what I'm saying? Because you're looking at it every day, you know, and you're looking at it, you're nitpicking every little thing, and that's how it's got to be. You got to be an attention and detail guy, okay? But I think sometimes as coaches, we tend to focus on, you know, and I say we, okay, we tend to focus on, and I say we as coaches in general, we want to fix things. We want to solve problems with players. And what I mean by that is technique, fundamentals, you know, communication progression, all these little things that it takes to operate, okay? And you spend so much time focusing on what's wrong with a guy that sometimes you miss out on what's right with him, okay? And so in the transfer portal, there may be a guy's feeling like, because I know a bunch of O-line coaches out there, and they're all really good coaches, you know, but maybe he's feeling like he's not getting he just needs a fresh start, you know what I mean? And so I don't ever want to get into a situation where, you know, we bring a guy in here from, you know, whatever university, and the guy says, oh, I'm so excited about finally getting developed. I'm like, you know, you've been getting coached, right? Now we're going to do our best to help you and maybe help you progress along. But there's a lot of really good coaches out there, and you know, sometimes in this transfer world, that gets lost as well. You know, that I'm all about opportunity and development, but you know, I also am never going to disparage another coach who's been working with a dude. Does that make sense? I know I probably got off tangent a little bit right there, so I apologize if I did, but.
We've got time for a couple more. We'll go to Matt.
Matt Sarah with Wartent.com. Kind of a two-part question. You talked about Mike and knowing him as a GA. Is it kind of weird that like that guy's your boss now, having to work under him? And looking around, you're big into cooking. Have you gotten to cook for anyone on the team yet? Are you excited to? Like, what do you think that person be able to be?
Yeah. So the first part is, no, I'm fired up to work with Mike. We have a great relationship, like I said, and you know, when you're in a room with somebody and you spend as much time together as you do when you're on a staff, whether a guy's a GA or whether the guy's the head coach or whether he's the student assistant or whatever, you develop such a level of respect and admiration for guys because of what they're doing in the room. Does that make sense? So even when Mike was a GA, he brought tremendous value, just like our GAs. I've been really, really impressed with Dimitri Emanuel, who was a student assistant here, and also Ben Miles. Those guys have been like, you know, as soon as I set foot on campus, they've been with me and have kind of, you know, walking me, just making sure I'm in the right place at the right time, and you know, because but they've been taking care of me, and those are two young coaches that I've already got a lot of respect for, you know, and I'm excited to work with those guys, just excited I am to work with Coach Norvell. And so it's not really weird that he's the head coach now. He's the same guy, you know, he's got the same energy, he's got the same juice, he brings the same passion as he did when he was a GA, and that's genuine, it's sincere, and I think that's important to players when they see that. He's not a fake person, you know. I mean, he's a very sincere person. That's just who he's been, who he is, and who he's been his entire career. And I can vouch for that because we had him at the beginning, and he's the same dude, you know. And then as far as the cooking goes, I know. Here's what I know. I know how to get from the stadium to the Indigo Hotel and get back here, and I haven't had any chance really to do much other than that. You know, I've been to a couple of nice restaurants. We've had some good food since I've been here on these recruiting meals. So I appreciate Florida State for footing the bill for those. That's been very nice. Yeah, we'll cross all those other bridges when we get to them. So.
Go to Kurt.
Hey, Kurt Weiler with the Osceola. Sorry, it's kind of throwing you a big picture, a vaguer question. When you have somewhat limited time with the guys, when I'm sure you're somewhat limited in what you can do physically with them in practice, how do you coaching philosophy, teaching philosophy-wise, try and maximize that time? What is your approach to that?
Oh, man, that's, because there's a, we have a time limit, that we're governed by the NCAA on. And so the whole thing with that is that I believe in efficiency. You have to have a great plan every day. You have to have a great plan of how you're gonna attack the day, and so when I do get a chance, I haven't had, like I said, I've been back and forth to pretty much the hotel and all that stuff. I've already met with when I do get a chance to work with our guys on the field, which I have not had that opportunity yet, obviously, because we haven't had practice or anything, but I have met with them. As soon as I got hired here, one of my first priorities was to meet with the current players, because we're in the middle of all this transfer stuff and recruiting and all that, but we have players on campus that are important to us. Those are the guys that we're going to go to battle with. So I had a great meeting with all the offensive linemen who were here. Some of the guys had already finished up their academics for the semester and gone home, but I got on the phone with those guys. I had previous relationships with some of those guys because I had recruited them. When I was at Texas, I think I was the first guy to ever offer Jalen Early a scholarship. And so that was kind of cool when Coach Norvell told him that I was coming. He was like, "Oh man, Coach Hanna, that was the first dude to ever offer me." So we've had a relationship with him, and I'm looking forward to working with him now. The other young guys, right? Jonathan Daniels and Lucas Simmons and Andre Otto and all these guys that are the younger guys on the roster in our unit. I got to know those guys through the recruiting process as well. So there was a baseline relationship with them. But I think that the whole key to it is just being efficient. Having a great plan every day. I don't want to waste a minute when it comes to working with our student athletes to help them, be prepared to be successful when they hit the field. So it's just going to be about the efficiency part of it.
Go to Corey for the last one.
Corey Clark with WarChamp.com. With your track record and Coach Malzahn's track record, you guys run the ball and run the ball a lot and run it well.
Yes.
This offense did not do that well the last 2 years, really, but especially this last year. When you go into your room, how do you instill, confidence and belief that I don't care what happened last year, you guys are going to be good and we're going to run the ball no matter what it takes?
Right. Well, it starts really from the I want to say from the ground up, literally. Okay. What I mean by that is football is a ground-based game. Everything starts with your feet. Okay. But we were going to start building this from the ground up too. So I'm not concerned with what's happened in the past. I'm really not. That's the past is the past for a reason, man. It's now, do we have to learn from the past? Sure. Because if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it, right? At least that's what they say anyways, okay? So yeah, we want to learn, we want to get better, we want to grow, but there's going to be a commitment to the run game. That's who we are, that's who we've been. Now, we're not, going to pound our face against the wall. If the defense has 13 guys in the box, okay, you have to have answers. You understand what I'm saying? And that's always the challenge as well. And that's where you have to be able to use the run to set up the pass game. With our vertical pass game, our RPOs, things of that nature that we could take advantage of, matchups on the outside. But it starts with being able to run the football. And we have an approach. We are an inside zone based team. We have all the bells and whistles off the inside zone. But everybody in America runs inside zone. They really do it. So it's not about what you do, it's how you do it that matters. And the attention to detail and technique, fundamentals, the communication progression, getting hats on hats, and then having, we've got some really good running backs and, really excited about that room and having a guy that, a guy or two or three or however many we can have that, when we get them as a running back, all you're looking for is, can you get me in a one-on-one situation with an unblocked defender? Because you can't block everybody, okay? But when the running back has the opportunity to get one-on-one with a safety or a corner or whoever that his hat is, he's responsible for, does he have the ability to make that dude miss and then get an explosive play out of it, okay? Because our goal up front is put hats on hats. It starts with our communication progression and making sure that we're targeting the right hats. And then it goes into technique and fundamentals, which we call the how-tos. Okay, you have who-tos and you have how-tos. Who-tos are scheme, right? That's, you know, when you're an offensive lineman, the first thing you think of when there's a play called is, okay, who am I responsible for? How am I gonna communicate that across the line, okay? Up and down the line, make sure everybody's on the same page. And then you have how-tos, and your how-tos are your techniques and fundamentals. And then the ball's gonna be snapped, dude, and we gotta go ball out when the ball's snapped, okay? And then you gotta do it again, and then you gotta do it again, and then you gotta do it again, and over and over and over again. You gotta put hats on hats, man. And when you do that, good things happen. And that's what we're committed to. That's who we are. That's our DNA. It always has been. I mean, I cut my teeth, seems like 100 years ago, I guess, but back when I was at West Virginia with Rich Rodriguez and then Coach Malzahn and I got together at Tulsa, and then, you know, I've been with James Franklin when we had, we had Saquon Barkley when he was a freshman at Penn State. He ran for a little over 1,000 yards for us as a freshman and probably missed 3 games. You know, he had a little ankle sprain. He missed about 3 games. Now, he's a freak, okay? But, we've had great backs that have been beneficiaries of putting hats on hats up front. And that's what it's going to start with, so.
Okay, thank you, guys.